Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Members of the General Assembly, it is my distinguished honor to present to you the Honorable Bill Lee, Governor of the great state of Tennessee.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Lieutenant Governor McNally, Speaker Sexton, Speaker Pro Tem Hale, Speaker Pro Tem Dunn, members of the 111th General Assembly, constitutional officers, justices, fellow Tennesseans. It is an honor to be before you once again tonight. Truly an honor. Before I begin, Speaker Sexton, let me offer special congratulations to you on your election as our new Speaker. I look forward to working with you not only in this session but in the years ahead as we strive to make Tennessee a leader in this country. Last year I stood before you on this podium, newly inaugurated as the 50th governor of the state of Tennessee, and I had no idea what I was getting myself into. It has been a rewarding year, far more rewarding than I could have ever imagined. To serve Tennesseans, to help make their lives better, to help give them a better education, to recruit good jobs, and to help make our state a leader in the country. It's been humbling. It's been an honorable experience for sure. And to serve with you, the men and women of the General Assembly, has been a tremendous honor as well. Thank you for your outpouring of support for me during this first year. It means an awful lot to me and to Maria. You know, with all the noise in the world these days, whether it's in Washington or New York or Hollywood, I can stand right here and I can't help but look across this room in Tennessee and be inspired. Inspired by every man and woman in this chamber who sacrificed much and who are dedicated to their beliefs and to the service of their neighbors. Thank you for what you do. I look forward to working with every one of you, alongside each one of you, in this session and in the years ahead, as we also together take this state to a place where she's a leader in the country. Our state has another dedicated servant here in this room tonight, our First Lady, Maria Lee. She has been advocating tirelessly in the past year, launching her Tennessee Serves initiative, encouraging her fellow Tennesseans to join her in serving our neighbors. She's hit the ground running. Tennesseans have gotten to know what I've known for a long time. Maria, I love you, and we are fortunate to have you as our First Lady. Many of my family members are here as well. Thank you for being here. I'm especially proud that my mom, Ann Lee, is here. You have served me all of my life, and I'm proud that you're here again tonight. Thank you. And as I begin, I also want to thank my cabinet and my staff. I'm proud of all of you and your high level of expertise and dedication that you lend to the people of Tennessee each day. Thank you for your hard work. Keep it going. Tennessee is counting on you. Serving as your governor over the past year, I've seen a lot of good that we can be proud of. In 2019, for the first time, we were named the #1 best fiscally managed state in America. We've been named as the best business climate in the country, #1 in the U.S. for advanced industry job growth, the best state for small business growth. In the past year, the state has garnered 108 commitments that created 16,500 jobs and $3.6 billion of capital investment in Tennessee. And while we still have more work to do on rural economic development, I'm proud to say that half of those commitments were made in rural counties. This year, Mitsubishi, FedEx Logistics, J&J, Pilot.com, Husong, Amazon, Smile Direct, Icy, and dozens of other companies made expansions in or relocations to Tennessee. We're the envy of many states. We're not just being noticed by our fellow southern states, but we're gaining recognition from all across the country. Over the last year, I visited every county in our state for the 3rd time, and every place I went, I saw Tennesseans working to make our state better. Tonight, we celebrate the state of our state. We gather to celebrate that and discuss ways to continue our momentum. But you and I know that the successes that we enjoy belong to the 6.8 million hardworking Tennesseans who sent us here. We work for the people of Tennessee. And when you get back to your districts this weekend, you can tell your bosses, the people, that I've seen it with my own eyes. The state of our state is healthy and strong. Let's work to keep it that way. I'm proud of what we've accomplished together in this last year. I'm excited about what's to come. In education, we made our kids in our schools safer when we invested $30 million new dollars to support school safety and resource officers. As you know, we launched 2 major school choice initiatives this year as well. Our first independent charter school authorizer will ensure quality oversight and accountability for our state's public charter schools. We created the Tennessee Education Savings Account, which will serve low-income students in districts with the highest number of low-performing schools. Disruption is hard, and sometimes it's controversial, but we can't expect extraordinarily different outcomes without extraordinarily different inputs. So I'm proud of these initiatives, and I'm looking forward to their success. That said, the vast majority of our students are educated in traditional public schools, and the majority of our efforts must remain focused there. Through my travels this year, I've been in dozens of schools across Tennessee, from one end to the other. I always learn something whenever I visit with students, but when I visit with teachers, I'm inspired. In this building, we work hard to develop student-centered education policies, but out there in the classrooms is where it happens. We make law, but teachers make it happen. And no teacher I know does it only for the pay, but we do know that a worker is worthy of their pay. Teaching's a calling. We know it's passion that brings teachers to the classroom, but we also know that our teachers deserve to be paid more for the important work that they do. Last year, I proposed, and you approved, more than $70 million to support increases in teacher salaries. This year, I'm proposing the largest investment in K-12 teacher salaries in Tennessee history. My budget sets aside thought you might be excited about that. My budget sets aside $117 million additional dollars for teachers, an amount equal to a 4% increase in the state's contribution to teacher salaries. We must also work harder to make teaching a more attractive profession for young people. We know that our new teacher numbers are dropping. And as our economy becomes more competitive for jobs, investing in workforce development must include the next generation of teachers. Over the next 2 years, we'll recommend moving minimum salary schedule for teachers from $36,000 to $40,000 so that no Tennessee teacher is making less than $40,000 a year. This change to the salary schedule will reward teachers across the state while also making the teaching profession even more appealing to young people who are considering the high call of becoming an educator. This year, we'll apply to create an AP Education teaching course and launch a new series of grants to district Grow Your Own programs that support the development of a future teacher as early as high school. We're also taking the Grow Your Own concept one step further. My budget includes $8.5 million to support the launch of the Governor's Teaching Fellowship, an initiative that will, in conjunction with Tennessee Promise, provide a college scholarship for over 1,000 of our best and brightest as they train to become teachers. One of the reasons that we're making these investments is because when it comes to educating our children, there may be nothing more important than recruiting and retaining and training educators right here, the best educators in America, right here in Tennessee. To our higher education leaders, I want to thank you for the work that you have put in these last several years to improve how we train the next generation of teachers, but we can't afford to rest on our laurels. That's why our Department of Education will be working much more closely with our schools of education to ensure that our approach to training teachers is the best in the nation. In that spirit, I'm excited to announce a first-of-its-kind competition to develop the best teacher preparation program in the world, right here in Tennessee. The Tennessee Teacher and Leader Institute will solicit proposals from across the country to help launch a new initiative that will build the best education prep program in the country. Make no mistake, we'll do whatever it takes to make Tennessee the best state in the country to be a student, and that means making Tennessee the best place in America to be a teacher. That means better pay, as we've said, but it also means better training and professional support so that our teachers can perform at the top of their trade. We're investing $4 million to support professional development opportunities for school leaders and innovative career advancement for our best performing teachers. One thing that we hear as I travel across the state, one thing that we hear from teachers is that many students arrive at school with a host of personal and family issues that classroom teachers just don't have the bandwidth to handle. It creates a nightmare for a teacher when a student is struggling. They can either stop the learning process for everyone else in the classroom to help that one student, or ignore that student's needs. Indeed, our mental health challenges in school are not just anecdotal. The data supports our concerns. 1 in 5 children has a mental health diagnosis in a given year. 60% of children who receive mental health services do so in school. The youth suicide rate increased 56% in the last decade, making it the second leading cause of death among young people aged 10 to 24. Scores of teachers and principals, as well as our education commissioner, have pleaded for reinforcements from the state to help schools tackle the mental health and other challenges that students bring with them to the classroom. Tonight, that help is on the way. First, we're expanding our outreach capacity of our Department of Mental Health, growing our school-based behavioral health liaison program from 36 counties to all 95 counties. Second, I'm proposing the creation of a new reserve, a K-12 mental health trust fund, $250 million in one-time funds to support the growth and placement of mental health support services in our most at-risk schools. We will seek private donations to grow this fund over time and use the earnings to make investments in mental health and our education system for years to come. It's It is our expectation that Tennessee will lead the nation in bringing mental health support to our teachers and to our students, and we are very proud of that. In previous years, we've led the nation in many respects, particularly in our student growth on our NAEP scores, and that achievement is due to the hard work of many in this room, as well as the leaders who've gone before us and our hardworking teachers. But right now, our biggest academic challenge for our students is literacy. Currently, 1/3 of our third grade students are reading on grade level. Years later, that results in nearly 3 out of 4 students who cannot read their high school level textbooks on the first day of school. Literacy is the foundation for a student's educational journey, and if we can't get early childhood literacy back on track, all of our other investments in work and education will be limited. This year, I'm recommending a new comprehensive approach to literacy. I'm introducing legislation to establish new, clear standards for the training of new teachers and the development of current teachers, grounded in the evidence and science of reading, with proven methods like phonics-based instruction. We will ensure adequate supports and interventions for students before they reach the critical third grade milestone. But moving the needle on early childhood literacy is more than just talk. That's why I'm also proposing an additional investment of $70 million to make sure that teachers have what they need to accomplish the task at hand. It's a partnership with districts that will include improved materials, ongoing professional development, and high-quality instructional tools for teachers in the classroom. Fully funding the BEP growth, 4% teacher raises, Tennessee Teacher and Leader Institute, records investment in teacher recruitment, professional development, literacy training, and the K-12 Mental Health Trust Fund. Our total new dollars invested in the future of public education in the coming fiscal year will equal more than $600 million. So when you're back home in your districts this year, if someone tells you that we're not supporting public education, they're not telling the truth. We're making these changes. We're making these changes and these investments because we want our public schools to be excellent. Well, how will we know if we're succeeding? On one hand, Tennessee moved up 9 places in the NAEP in our best performing area of math, and we avoided the national trend of backsliding on past gains. On the other hand, the true measure of a successful education system is a cohort of high school graduates who are well prepared to be productive citizens, whether they choose a career or college. To me, education isn't just about a test score. Assessments are valuable tools, but the adults in education are doing their job correctly. If they're doing their job correctly, they won't just see academic statistics improve, but they'll see the most important stat of all, that our students are prepared to become productive members of society, whether that's entering the workforce, attending college, or earning a high-quality industry certification. This past year, we placed special emphasis on career readiness. I'm proud of the GIVE Act that this legislature approved last year, which allowed us to grant $25 million to schools across our state who are helping young adults learn industry certifications long before they ever have in the past. This year, we launched 28 new work-based learning programs, 18 of which are in rural, distressed counties. Some of my favorite days of governor have been traveling to this state's rural counties and delivering a GIVE grant to launch a new CTE program. As I stand in a welding shop, looking into the eyes of students who maybe for the first time are excited about what they're doing at school, I look at them and say, you have a unique ability to connect your brain with your hands that a lot of students don't have. I tell them, we need you. We need your skills. Your communities need you. And then I'll look at them and say, stay in your rural county and build it. Put those gifts and skills to work in your own backyard. We need you. I'm also proud of the Future Workforce Initiative, which is adding 100 new middle school STEM programs by 2022 and tripling the number of STEM designated schools in our state. Through this work, we've seen a 100% increase in the number of schools applying to receive a STEM designation. I'm also proud of our Department of Labor and Workforce Development, who, in partnership with the Trump administration, has launched new investments in youth apprenticeships. Our workforce cabinet members have done a great job this year. For the first time, state agencies who are involved in workforce development are beginning to pull in the same direction, and their work is already paying off. The first outcome of that work will be next week's launch of Apprenticeship Tennessee, a new effort that will realign our approach to getting individuals back into the workplace. For those who do take advantage of our state's higher education excellent programs and schools, we want to make sure that high-quality facilities and standards await them to give them their best possible chance of success. Last week, the Higher Education Commission released an update to our state's 5-year master plan, shifting the focus from degrees to jobs. We're moving forward with bold new goals, like increasing by 10% the number of dual enrollment students, increasing by 20% the number of Tennessee degrees in computer science and data analytics. And in addition to large investments in our salary pool and our outcomes-based funding formula, I've set aside nearly $160 million for capital improvements and $70 million for capital maintenance projects on our college campuses across Tennessee. For the time being, we must continue to produce highly skilled workers as fast as we can on whatever track we can so that we keep feeding the tremendous job growth that we've seen across Tennessee. This year I met with CEOs from South Korea to Silicon Valley and everywhere in between. CEOs that are looking to invest in Tennessee because of our low-tax, conservative approach to government that we've developed. As I mentioned, more than 16,000 jobs have been created in Tennessee over the last year, but too few of them have been in our distressed and at-risk counties. That's why I've instructed the Department of Economic and Community Development to raise the stakes when it comes to recruiting industry to rural areas. I've directed ECD to restructure our incentive packages to companies considering locating in our 15 distressed counties and our 24 at-risk counties. And speaking of our 15 distressed counties, we have tonight with us the mayors of those distressed counties. Would you please stand and be recognized? We're proud you're here. We're certainly grateful for the hard work that you do in some of our most difficult, yet some of our most remarkable areas of our state. For the last several years, our strong economy has been feeding a very healthy budget, and the leaders in this room should be commended for their good stewardship. Conservative principles work. And as I enter my second year as governor, I pledge to you to continue to lead our state in the direction of conservative fiscal management. As you know, I've asked each of our departments for a 1% budget cut last year, and they responded with cuts totaling 1.7%, $91 million trimmed from our state budget. A few months ago, I traveled to New York with our constitutional officers, with Speaker Sexton, to meet with the bond rating agencies, sharing our story of fiscal responsibility and consistent results, and they rewarded our collective effort with a AAA bond rating from all three agencies, and we are one of only 13 states to achieve that. Indeed, our economy is strong, and a rising tide lifts all boats. And it's only fair that when the state's fiscally healthy, some of that money be returned to the taxpayers. So tonight, I'm announcing a proposal to cut the professional privilege tax in half and return $40 million to individuals and small business owners who every year pay this arbitrary and unfair tax. Indeed, the state is seeing strong economic times, but many of our local governments are struggling financially. And we certainly don't want to see local tax increases. In many of the counties that I've visited throughout the past year, community leaders always tell me about a particular project or an initiative that could transform their county if only they could find the funding. And certainly on many levels, local government knows better than we do how to direct resources. And for that reason, my budget proposal recommends $100 million for local government grants to be divided among every county and every municipality across our state. This money, returned to states and counties, can be used for one-time expenses like road projects or IT upgrades, capital maintenance, utility system upgrades, and public safety projects. Last year, we made the largest single contribution in our state's history to our rainy day fund, bringing the total to $1.1 billion. Very few states have minimal debt and a growing rainy day fund. And this year, we're proposing making an additional $50 million contribution, which is 20% more than the statutory requirement. Even as we save, and even as we save for a rainy day in Nashville, we know, as I said, not all parts of our state are seeing the same success. You may have heard that rural Tennessee is a priority of mine. My first executive order focused the attention of the state government on rural areas. I later gathered our cabinet and governors and leaders from our 15 distressed counties for the first ever Governor's Rural Opportunity Summit in Perry County. Last year, we invested $20 million in broadband expansion to increase services in rural areas that need it the most. And this year, I'm pleased to announce a recommended additional $25 million investment in broadband expansion. Maria, this might be the year we get broadband at the farm. I'm also recommending $20 million for ECD's Rural Opportunity Fund, which supports site development and Main Street developments and critical infrastructure assistance for rural counties. We expanded an incentive program in Tennessee medical schools that'll grow the pipeline of primary care doctors locating in rural communities, and this year we plan to do even more for rural Tennessee. We're adding more than $4 million. We'll add more than $4 million for payment increases to rural health clinics and expanding access to dental care through the Department of Health and a new public-private partnership with Smile Tennessee. We're adding $7 million to the Ag Enhancement Program and an additional $2 million for UT Extension agents in distressed rural counties. The Department of Tourism has created an Office of Rural Tourism, and we've set aside nearly $2.4 million for their efforts to draw attention to the beautiful parts of Tennessee that are off the beaten path. We're making all these investments because, as our state's elected leaders, we must remain aware of serving every part and every person of our state. That's why I've made criminal justice reform such a large priority, because every person in Tennessee wants and deserves to live in a safe neighborhood. When properly implemented, criminal justice reform saves taxpayer dollars. It shrinks the size of government. It properly punishes wrongdoers, and it makes our communities safer. Last year, we gave correctional officers a long overdue pay raise to make Tennessee more competitive with other states. We added basic education and CTE options for inmates on a path to reentry so that they would be better prepared for life on the outside. This legislature passed each of our proposals last year, and I'm proud to bring again to you another set of proposals. First and foremost, we must be tough on crime. Last year, we cracked down on fentanyl traffickers. And this year, I propose increasing the criminal penalties associated with the theft of a firearm. I'm proposing increasing penalties associated with reckless endangerment of a police officer or a first responder. But 95% of incarcerated individuals are not serving a life sentence, which means that one day they'll leave prison and they will return to a community near you. It's in the best interest of your family and your community that those individuals be prepared to make that reentry successfully instead of returning to a life of crime. Our Criminal Justice Investment Task Force recently issued 23 recommendations on how we can improve in these areas. And I want to thank the 8 legislators in this room and many other Tennesseans who gave their time and energy to developing these thoughtful recommendations. This year, based on those recommendations, I plan to propose legislation that will improve our probation and parole system. First, we want to expand recovery courts so that veterans and those struggling with addiction or mental health challenges will have access to specialized supervision. Second, we want to improve the use of our community supervision, including at the end of a prison sentence. Nearly 40% of those leaving our prisons do so with no oversight. And all too often, those individuals are the very ones who need it the most. Third, we want to encourage those leaving prison to secure employment by revising the occupational licensing process and encouraging employers to hire the formerly incarcerated. By drawing upon evidence-based best practices, proven, we're confident that outcomes for those on community supervision will improve and our communities will be safer. We need to be sure that these individuals are prepared to re-enter society and not re-enter prison. Another way that we're preparing individuals to leave prison is through the recently created Volunteer Mentorship Initiative. We launched it in the fall, and already more than 24 inmates have been matched with legislators and members of our staff to begin thinking about what life looks like at the end of their prison sentence. Our second round of mentors has just been matched, and they'll go through the orientation process in the next few weeks. But what's really exciting is hundreds of Tennesseans have reached out to express interest in becoming mentors, and we'll be including them in this process very soon. And by the way, if you want to be a mentor in this process, you can sign up on my website. I'd like to talk about just one other public safety budget item we're proposing. For many Tennesseans, the only interaction they have with their government is the Driver Services Division at Department of Safety. Tennesseans deserve to have great interactions with their state government. And I've asked our Department of Safety to take steps to improve experiences at our driver service centers. I'm proposing 80 additional positions and funding to assist in decreasing wait times for our customers as they answer the federal mandate to obtain a real ID. Another issue that impacts every single person in this state is health care. Last year, we added $3.5 million to the health care safety net, specifically designed to help provide direct care to uninsured adults. This year, I'm proposing an additional $6.5 million recurring dollars to this program. The resulting $17 million in total annual funding will be the highest of any year since the program was started in 2005. We're also setting aside more than $7.5 million to create a children's behavioral safety net, health safety net. This initiative will work to ensure that no child in need of critical behavioral health services is unable to access them. Solving our health care challenges requires more than just increased funding. We're going to have to be innovative and thoughtful as well. Because of the encouragement of this legislature, I'm proud that Tennessee was the first state in America to apply for a Medicaid block grant from the federal government. Tennessee runs the most efficient Medicaid system in the country, and the result is that we're one of only a few states who underspend the federal government's estimate for what it should cost to cover our Medicaid population. Our proposal to the federal government is that we get to share those savings and spend that money to cover more services and more people. And while we don't yet know whether this proposal will be accepted, I'm confident that what we've proposed will be good for Tennessee if it is accepted. And no Tennessean would be worse off if it is. Under the proposed budget, my administration will fund the third year of the Rural Hospital Transformation Program. And this time next year, we'll be in a position to consider recommendations from the Healthcare Modernization Task Force. Throughout this year, Commissioner McWhorter has held multiple listening sessions across the state to better understand the concerns and priorities of patients, providers, and payers. Building on that foundation, they're moving ahead to find innovative solutions, to find ways that our state can better provide access to quality health care that all Tennesseans can afford. Why is it that we would make these investments in education, criminal justice, and health care? Because each of these items helps us build what we're really going after, free and thriving citizens within healthy families and communities. I'm proud that under our proposal, Tennessee would become the first state in America to offer 12 weeks of paid family leave to eligible state employees who experience a significant life event. I'm proud of our state workers. I'm proud of our state workers, and offering them this benefit will help us continue to retain the best and brightest and help those who help our state. This budget also proposes changes to our TennCare program that will benefit young families. We know infant mortality and maternal health are challenges for our state. 1 in 2 Tennessee births are covered in our Medicaid program. That's why we're proposing 2 new initiatives to expand prenatal and postpartum coverage for our TennCare recipients. First, we're launching a 3-year pilot plan to extend postpartum coverage to 12 months for mothers covered by TennCare. We're also expanding preventative dental services to mothers on TennCare. My proposal would provide dental and oral benefits to pregnant women who don't currently receive dental benefits during the time of pregnancy through 60 days post-delivery. This will support improved health outcomes and save dollars for both mother and child. For me, one of the most important things we can do to be pro-family is to protect the rights of the most vulnerable in our state, and there is none more vulnerable than the unborn. I've proposed legislation that would defend and protect the life of an unborn baby from the time their heartbeat can be detected. I want to share a personal story that has strengthened my resolve in this very important subject. A few months ago, my son and his wife had identical twin baby girls, delivered months before they were due, at a time when most babies their size would still be in their mother's womb. When I walked into the neonatal intensive care unit and I stared with wonder at a 1-pound, 5-ounce baby girl with tubes and cords and monitors fighting for her life, as I watched little Annie, I was reminded once again that every life is precious. Every life is precious. Every life is precious, and we'll support pro-life policy in this state because everything precious is worth protecting. My first year as governor has been the most enlightening of my life. At my age, I thought I'd seen it all. But this job provides a new perspective on our state, on its people, on our common challenges. I've been to every county in this state at least 3 times. I've seen a lot. And some days my heart swells, glad to see a community thriving or a program working, and other days my heart breaks, frustrated with the failures of an imperfect system and wishing that we could do more. But if I could say one thing to my fellow Tennesseans as I enter my second year as governor, it'd be this: I see you. To the farmer standing in a flooded field in West Tennessee looking at a ruined crop, I see you. To the single mom who is taking a TCAT class at night to give her family a new opportunity, I see you. To the young girl with great potential and even greater dreams, stuck in a school that doesn't meet her needs, I see you. For the police officer putting their life on the line, or a crime victim who's been harmed by a broken justice system, I see you. To these and the rest of 6.8 million Tennesseans, you don't expect government to solve all your problems, but you do expect to get what you pay for. I see you. We see you. And we will keep striving to bring good jobs and good schools and safe neighborhoods to every corner of this state, because that's what you elected us to do, and that's what you deserve. As we conclude tonight, let's be reminded that the walls around us are the walls of history. Remarkable men and women have accomplished much in this very building. In fact, one of the most important decisions in the fabric of our nation was resolved 100 years ago right here. On August 18, 1920, the Tennessee General Assembly voted to approve the 19th Amendment to the United States Constitution, which enshrined for women the constitutional right to vote. Even then, 100 years ago, Tennessee was leading the nation, casting the deciding vote in that revolutionary decision. In this very chamber, the course of American history was changed. I mentioned that earlier, much of our success is owed to those who've come before us. Many of those trailblazers are women. Our state and our country have thrived in large part due to the pivotal role played by women in society and in government. And can you believe that was just 100 years ago? History's funny that way. What seems inevitable now would have seemed far from it to those engaged in the day-to-day struggle for suffrage. 100 years later, our struggles are certainly different. But as we celebrate the centennial of Tennessee's role in ratifying the 19th Amendment this year, what I hope we remember is this: the long arc of history remembers fondly when leaders do the right thing, especially when it's hard, especially when the politics of the day don't offer any rewards. And my hope is this: that history records that we were leaders who worked together, who stood firm in our individual convictions, but who remembered that differences should not divide us. Rather, they challenge us to take the harder, higher road of understanding, of respect, and of common purpose. God has given us great favor and blessed us with a great responsibility to effect positive change for our families, for our communities, and for our state. May we pursue the challenges before us with grace and humility and courage. Some 6.8 million Tennesseans are counting on us to do just that. Let's make them proud. Thank you, and God bless the great state of Tennessee.
The purpose of which the joint convention was called has been accomplished. The joint convention stands dissolved.